Have you ever had any direct first-hand experience of war or conflict, either relating to the specific film screened or otherwise? And if so, has that had any effect on your creative process?
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, I was born in. I'm originally from Palestine. I was born in Saudi Arabia, and in my childhood, I used to see the war in the news only. When I was 19, I moved to Palestine to study in my university, and actually, I went to study electronics engineering. But experiencing the war that started in 2000, actually, that what made me write. Even like it was for me the start of why I wrote is because I saw things in reality that I realized that there are so much stories that the news didn't really convey. Being from Palestine, knowing all the news, knowing all the history, knowing all this, I thought I know when I was outside, but when I was inside, I realized that the story of the people who live there is not really told, and that was actually the spark of why even I started to write. So it's definitely it's a perspective of life that definitely made me see things in a way that even inspired me to write in the first place. So it's a very direct, and actually I realize until now most of what I write still comes from that time, or at least in the same way I look at things, it's still from the perspective of like downwards, upwards kind of. So it definitely is, yeah. Like it's a very direct and literal inspiration to be in that situation. Actually, for me, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was born in what's now called ex-Yugoslavia, and then when I was 12, the war started. But I've never had like first-hand experience. So Serbia was at that moment what Russia is at the moment. So it's like we felt like superpower over all these other republics and tried to conquer it, and then we just failed. So basically, it has some similarities to what happened today. I mean, what's happening now in Ukraine and Russia is just something that was waiting for 30 years to happen after the fall of the Berlin Wall. So it happened to us 30 years ago, and it's happening now over there. It was just something that was paused for a while and just waiting for it to explode. Yeah, but at the end of the war, in back like end of the 90s, we had like NATO strikes and everything finished like in 90 days. So that was my only first-hand experience. But it was nothing like what's happening in my movies.
Well, for me, I've been lucky enough to kind of like grow up in a small city in Italy, which obviously I didn't experience any kind of like conflict whatsoever. Obviously, everything that I got to know and kind of inspired me to make this film was based on other things that I wrote, that I read or I watched on screen. And obviously, there's a lot going on right now. And to be honest, I wasn't really prepared to like kind of like start this journey. But basically, when I read the memories for the first time, I kind of decided to like investigate more and kind of like step away from that kind of like comfortable position that I've been lucky to grow up in, and trying to imagine what that could have been like for those young people back during Second World War.
Mm-hmm. Well, we come from Israel, and we left the country quite a long time ago, 15 years ago, but definitely we did find ourselves in situations of conflicts and maybe not direct war, but hostile moments, and I'm sure it had affected our work. I think if you look at the films that we've done, some of them are directly connected to the place we come from. I think at least our earlier work is very much, probably considered political and reflecting on current situation. But I think as we moved on in life and got a broader perspective, we live in Denmark for many years now. I think our work, our reflection, our films are becoming more, they're not directed. They're more distant and more, just more of a, I would say, allegory in them, and they become more universal for sure.
In the making of these films, did taking on this type of subject matter take any kind of emotional toll on you? And if it did, how did you work through it?
I don't know. For me, it's not really. For me, it's just like a puzzle. I'm just putting all the pieces together and trying to find a way to tell the story. So yeah, no real personal toll, I guess. I was more trying to try to make audience feel something and learn something about what, like you can really easily become a part of that world. Like war is not that far away, never. But yeah, people forget about it and live their lives, and it just comes to them and it becomes normal. So yeah, for me, it was more about that, about what audience will feel, not like what I was feeling.
Absolutely.
Well, for me, it was obviously, it was the sort of like, so yeah, I mean, the main thing that kind of like was the aim of my short film was basically, I mean, it's easy enough every time there's conflict, and like obviously, as Igor just said, like it's so close to all of us, but and it's always so easy to find like the good part and the bad part, like the good versus the evil. And to me, obviously, like Second World War has gone by now, but like it's been like kind of like affecting life of other people like till today. And my only thing that was kind of like very kind of like impactful for me was reading about all those people. So like, yes, my grandfather was fighting against the bad part back then, of course, but reading about all the soldiers that were not brave enough to join the resistance and therefore joined the kind of like evil side because they were not brave enough to run away, and that kind of like that impact that had on them after the war. I was talking to like a lot of people like close to me that probably their grandparents was fighting with the other side. And obviously you could see that those people were impacted as well by that. So for me, it was more kind of like, I'm still lucky to be quite in my early 30s. So for me, it was always like trying to imagine what this could have been like when you didn't have any choice and you were about to face something that you were not obviously like ready for. And I mean, it was fascinating at first, but also like terrifying for many other reasons that obviously I'm not listing here. But yeah, the main aim, like the biggest aim for me was trying to not make a political film in this case, but more about kind of like a portrait of what those young people might have gone through, not just back then, but even after.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it is definitely difficult to do because there is a lot about like, because even in therapy sessions or and so on, they try to train you to make peace of the past and like live with it and then move on. But trying to write a story and to make a film, that means actually living with something for almost like 3 to 5 years, especially in our case, when we do stop motion animation, it's really a long process. So it was really long period of time where I'm revisiting the mother and I'm seeing her. And then actually I even like until now, I feel really shiver to talk about her, you know, so it really needs a lot of courage to not only revisit it, but also to live it and to bring it out and to talk about it and so on. Like this is something, it's kind of opposite of therapy where like you just make peace with it, try to ignore anything that brings it back, and especially because actually you are consciously trying to bring it back, to put it very vivid in front of you, to find the story of it, to tell it to people, to that. There is something really difficult about it, and but definitely I think it's but it's really worth it, worth the effort to put, and worth even the struggle to go through. because these stories actually, if there's no one has the courage to say them, I think they will be just buried away. Nobody will talk about them. And a story like this, for me, it's a mind opener for me actually, and I hope it will be mind opener for people, and that's why it's worth the struggle, I would say.
Well, I think generally speaking, when you work on animation films, these short artistic films, they take time. So no matter if it's if it's a comedy or a tragedy, it does call for patience and for keeping up to the idea. And it's really, really hard, I think. But we are not. First of all, we are a duo. We work together. And in this specific film, we had a small crew. It wasn't this isolated, glorified situation where an animator in a black room, all by him or herself, are doing the work and going into all kind of depressive modes. I think I enjoy the work. I think the hardest times for me are mostly between projects, when I'm not working on a film, when I'm feeling a little bit lost. That's much harder, I think.